This week, many people who bought the Quest 2 on Amazon got this strange message. Product Safety Alert, July 27th, 2021. Stop using the following item because of a potential safety issue. Below, you'll see the Quest 2 headset people bought. If this came out of nowhere, you might get a bit of a scare, especially if you scroll Reddit sometimes. You hear horror stories like that recent one about a boy getting zapped by electricity and it looked like the Quest 2 did it, but it probably wasn't the Quest 2's fault. So is Amazon drunk, or is there really something unsafe about VR? I'll tell you what's going on, and while we're at it, let's talk about the common safety concerns many have, like can VR damage your health? Is it unsafe for kids? And is there anything that we can do about it? Make sure to check the timestamps down below if you're looking for a specific answer. First, some good news. The safety alert from 2021 is most likely related to the facial interface recall from the same date. Quest 2 headsets bought before August 24th, 2021 had a face foam that caused a generally mild skin irritation to a very small percentage of users. Meta, still Oculus back then, said that this only affected 0.01% of people using Quest 2. But it was enough for Amazon to temporarily pause selling Quest 2 in Europe back then due to an EU Commission filing. Why has this happened though? Well, the face covers the headset had back then had certain substances that are skin and eye irritants. That's why some people could experience discomfort. Meta addressed this issue pretty fast. Their investigation showed that was caused by a few trace substances usually present in the manufacturing process, which was already at levels below the industry standard, but out of caution, they changed the process to reduce it even further. And they offered a free silicone VR cover replacement to anyone who bought the headset before August 24th, 2021. If you haven't yet, you can still contact Meta support to redeem one. If you purchase your headset after this date, you should already have the new face cover included, so you don't need to worry. If you've been using the old face foam for a while already and you don't feel anything, you should be fine, except if you're not subscribed. Please subscribe to stay up to date. The interesting thing that many people said is that they could get a refund from Amazon without having to send back the device by contacting their support. Your entitlement to a refund or replacement is probably still determined by your warranty period though. But yes, it is still strange Amazon is giving out these alerts 1.5 years later, plus asking us to stop using the entire headset and not just the face cover. Unfortunately, they haven't been clear on the exact issue, so could it be that this is a new issue? Looking at the date in the notice, it's likely to be the face cover thing. It could be that Amazon just got around to associating these units with the old recall, or maybe it's a website bug, we don't know, except that Amazon is apparently late more often with these notices. Weird by itself. Frankly, it pisses me off a bit to see Amazon not clearly describing what's happening and probably scaring people about VR for nothing. So I wanted to dedicate a short section in this video to the most common safety concerns. Especially now VR has taken off a bit with millions of units sold, they've become the focus of health concerns. The most obvious risk involves bumping into things in real life while playing VR, which can be solved pretty quickly actually by putting a mat on the floor so you can feel your play space or ensuring you have the space. Take it from a VR addict that I rarely bump into things anymore. However, there's also growing concern about whether VR can damage your health. People report headaches, eye strain, dizziness, disorientation, and nausea after using headsets. Research says these are symptoms of motion sickness. It's common, but without long-term effects. The most effective method of recovery seems to be limited use, about 15 minutes with breaks between sessions. Interestingly, I did exactly that in my 6 years of using VR and I am much better. I used to get sick a lot, but it rarely happens now. The VR community calls it having VR legs. Anyways, there are also concerns that VR exposure causes visual disturbance, fatigue, and that regular use of VR could accelerate the global epidemic of myopia, aka short-sightedness. However, a study says this could also happen with almost all activities performed close to eyes, not only through VR or screens, but also by reading traditional books. There's also a way to prevent this. The 20-20-20 rule is suggested. That's 20 seconds break every 20 minutes by looking 20 feet away. Although investigation regarding these concerns seems comforting so far, it is important to remember that Quest 2 and VR in general are still new, so we're not sure how VR affects us yet because of limited up-to-date research on long-term effects. More research is still needed to be really sure of this.
There are two big rules. Only use the headset indoors, and users should be at least 13 years old.
This is probably why many headsets like PSVR or Quest 2 have warning labels that say it's not suitable for children under ages 12 or 14. This is likely to limit liability for the companies and prevent it until more research is done. But I can imagine if you're a parent, you might wonder if VR is safe for kids if you see these labels. So scientists think prolonged VR use could affect younger people more than adults because they're still developing their brains. Whether that's really the case, we don't know yet. For now, it's recommended to supervise your kids' VR use, make sure they don't use it too long at a time, take regular breaks, and help them understand the difference between fantasy and reality. However, this is actually the same recommendation for any form of media, not just for VR headsets. On the other hand, studies have shown using VR headsets to improve cognition, like improving attention, spatial awareness, or learning in general, is very promising. So I think this is gonna be interesting. What I can be sure of is my personal experience. I've been using VR almost every day for over 6 years now, sometimes 2 hours a day, sometimes even 6 hours a day, and I haven't noticed any changes in my sight or brain. I mean, I still don't wear glasses, and I think my brain still works. Plus, VR has made me more active, so I feel healthier, and it has given me many fond memories that I don't think I'll ever forget.
Okay.
Go.
Oh my god! Oh my god! It's chilly! It's cousin chilly!
So I would say always be cautious, but don't be scared to get into VR. If you really want to be careful, limiting exposure until more long-term studies are conducted is an option. But anything you use too much is bad for you, so having a good balance is never bad. Tell me, have you experienced anything weird after using VR for a long time, or maybe something good? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're here because you experience discomfort like motion sickness, I have a video right here with 10 tips to prevent VR motion sickness. It has helped me a lot throughout the year, so click here to watch more. Thank you so much for watching. Special thanks to our champs VR on. Dag.